Today is Tuesday, April 30th. We are now live with the latest in the crypto world. It's 9:30 a.m. in New York City, 2:30 p.m. in London, 10:30 p.m. in Tokyo, and 3:30 p.m. here in Malta. We will be joined by our crypto experts for a discussion shortly. But first, let's take a quick look at some of the market indicators. The total market capitalization has been mostly moving sideways after slipping south of the $170 billion mark yesterday. The cryptocurrency index, CCI 30, has continued moving lower. It currently stands close to the 2,800 point level. The start of this month was extremely bullish, but the monthly increase has narrowed down to just 7%. The index is 28% in the green year to date. The 30-day Bitcoin volatility index stayed flat yesterday at 3.72%. The index has been virtually unchanged during most of April. The CoinMarketCap website's 24-hour trading volume indicator stands at $45 billion after gaining approximately $5 billion. The Messari website's so-called Real 10 volume has returned back above the $1 billion mark. The Bitcoin dominance indicator is virtually unchanged as the Crypto King holds just under 55% of the market share. The top 5 digital assets are mostly trading in the red, and Litecoin has returned to the 5th position, pushing Bitcoin Cash down to the 6th spot. Bitcoin has found support above the $5,200 price level. Ether dropped yesterday, but it has since climbed back towards the $160 price range. XRP has moved further south of the key 30-cent psychological level. EOS stands close to the $4 mark. Litecoin shows no significant movement over the past 24 hours to trade close to the $70 level. The Coin 360 heat map shows a generally bearish picture, but markets are largely trading sideways. According to the Token Spread website, Bitcoin continues trading at a premium on the Bitfinex exchange. It is 6.3% more expensive on this exchange than it is on the Coinbase exchange. The biggest single market spread is on the XMO exchange, and it is slightly more than 0.3%. Before we wrap up this section, let's take a quick look at some of the characteristics of Elastos. This project aims to create a new kind of internet that is powered by the blockchain technology. It will be used to help people own digital assets and generate income from them. This is achieved by digital assets that are scarce and tradable. Elastos token functions as the base currency on this ecosystem. The price of this digital asset surged to hit its all-time high at nearly $94 in February of 2018. Currently, a single token can be purchased for approximately $3. We will now review the performance of various cryptocurrency assets based on the Messari website. The infrastructure group trades more than 3% in the red. Ethereum Classic, and Neo are providing some support for this asset class. The media and entertainment category is the worst performer with a drop of nearly 3.5%. The majority of the assets are trading in the red. The financial sector is close to 1.5% in the negative territory. The Bytom and Crypto.com tokens are 2 assets that stand in the green. The currency category has declined by slightly more than 2% as most of the coins are moving downwards. And lastly, the services section has lost more than 2% as a majority of the assets are trading in the red. This is where the 5 major cryptocurrency categories stand so far this Tuesday. We will now focus on the most significant moves among the top 100 cryptocurrencies to identify the top gainers and the biggest decliners. We'll start with the gainers. Most of the digital assets are trading in the red today, and there are no significant gains. The Crypto.com token leads the bull section with a daily gain of 4%. Just last week, this digital asset was added to the Kyber Swap token exchange platform. The Elastos coin is up by more than 3% to make its way back on the front page of the CoinMarketCap website. The asset has moved back above the $3 psychological level. The Ion token has gained almost 2% as it is moving towards the 18-cent mark. The Bytom coin shows an increase of nearly 2% as it looks to test the 10-cent resistance level. The Qubit token wraps up this list with a daily gain of 1.8%. This move comes on a daily traded volume of just $50,000. Markets have mostly driven by a bearish sentiment today. The Raven coin has plummeted by nearly 11%. The altcoin has moved south of the 5-cent level after giving up approximately 30% over the past 7 days. The MadeSafe coin is down by close to 9% as it gave up some of the gains posted earlier in the week. The Komodo coin has failed to hold the ground above the $1 mark. Its daily decline measures at 8% as the volatile week continues for this asset. The Myota token has returned back below the 30-cent mark, giving up some of the recent gains. The altcoin wraps up the decliner section with a drop of 7% as it plummeted below the 50-cent level this week. These were the top 24-hour moves during the European morning trading session this Tuesday. It's time for a short break now, but don't go anywhere. We will be back to catch up with our crypto experts.
Want to learn how to increase your profits? Learn the skills and techniques needed to get more traffic, leads, and sales. We've assembled the movers, shakers, and record breakers from across the planet under one roof to share their knowledge on digital marketing strategies that are working right now. Network, be entertained, get inspired, and leave with a proven plan for building and growing your business online. Come join us in sunny Malta on the 17th to the 19th of May at the Grand Hotel Excelsior in Valletta. Don't miss out. Get your tickets now on www.rise.events.
There are 180 different countries all around the world, which makes us grow in like a sphere.
We are stronger than ever.
Have these questions answered without disclosing anything.
AI field is mostly controlled by a few large corporations.
Much busier, bigger than ever.
In the mid-2020s. I do think that will come.
We should kind of keep in mind that we want the world to be a better place.
$15 billion a day. This is incredible.
People find a way to create infrastructure.
I think knowledge is one of the most important things in the world.
We laid the foundation for the distributed trust model that Satoshi builds on.
It does come with some risks, but at the same time, I think it's an opportunity for countries.
Individuals miss the boat on a market, they miss the boat. When the institutions miss the boat, they bring the boat back.
This is Blocks Live TV.
Welcome back to Blocks Live TV's Crypto Now live program. We will now join our crypto experts, Jason Fernandez, COO and co-founder of AE Token, and Jeff Hancock, COO and co-founder of the Get FIFO exchange. Hi guys, great to have you. How are you doing today?
Hi Leah, how are you doing?
Great, thanks Leah, thank you very much.
Good, brilliant to have you. Now, the overall markets have been virtually unchanged after dropping towards the end of last week. So what is your take on this period of relative stability that we are seeing on the markets? Jason?
So I think stability is good. I mean, it's certainly better than volatility and you know, the prices going down. I think with Bitcoin in particular, there's quite a bit of resistance at the 5250 area, and that's where the 50-week moving average lies. But there's also a lot of built-up inertia that's supporting market prices at current prices. I think if you think about it, Bitfinex can actually have a good effect on Bitcoin, because some people might choose to move money from Tether into Bitcoin because they feel Bitcoin might be the safer in the short run. Also, I think that we've been seeing Bitcoin slowly increase its support levels. So there was a point where it was like about 5,050 area, and even right now it's still in the high 5,200s. That's even after the dip post Bitfinex news coming out. So and altcoins seem to be tracking Bitcoin for the most part today, and we can see even in the top 17 coins are all showing in the green right now. So I think it's looking pretty good, even though maybe the numbers may not look so good for Bitcoin. I think overall market sentiment is good.
Excellent. Thank you for your thoughts there. And Jeff, please, what are your thoughts?
I think there's definitely a lot of people sidestepping the market. I think this Bitfinex and Tether story has a lot of people on edge. Whether you've got your regular retail traders or your institutional traders, they're all kind of taking a little bit of a step back and maybe see what's going to happen. That being said, I definitely agree with Jason's point on those support levels kind of creeping up. We're seeing slightly less volumes this week post Tether news. And we haven't seen a big drop-off in prices. If not, we've seen some small increases here and there. So while some of this news kind of works itself out, and we kind of learn more about the situation, and it's not just, flat news and everything else flying around, I think a little bit of stability in the market is quite healthy right now.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for your thoughts. Now, NASDAQ recently announced adding brave new coins XRP index on NASDAQ Global Index Data Service. Could you please explain how does this index work and what is this addition going to mean for XRP? Jason, please.
So Brave New Coin has been tracking the crypto asset market since 2015. And essentially what they do is calculate a fair global value for the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and now XRP. And they do it in USD, and they basically report that price every 30 seconds. So they're known for their accuracy and transparency. And essentially what they do is they draw on qualitative and quantitative data sources. They look at things such as volume, book depth, tick size, and also they factor in stability and quality of the constituency. And then basically they find a price that is the legitimate fair price based on all these factors, and essentially publish that, like I said, every 30 seconds. So that's generally what they do. What they've done recently is they developed the XRP Liquid Index, which is essentially in order to meet what is essentially a demand for a single, reliable, and fair USD price for XRP, because this is one of the cryptocurrencies which seems to vary quite a bit from certain exchanges to other exchanges. And so they basically look at real-world trading activity to figure that out. And thus far, it's worked out pretty good. I think XRP is up 4% since the announcement. So.
And Jeff, please, what are your thoughts?
I think a platform like this is a really, really good thing. It gets rid of all of that sort of inconsistency that we see between different exchanges. I mean, talking with Edward a few months ago when Bitcoin Gold was listed on an exchange in Korea, and the trading book and algorithm got messed up or something like that, and they saw a huge spike in volume, which affected their price. These sort of platforms giving really rich quality data from verified sources is going to help these larger institutions that only deal with indexes or only deal with certain types of liquidity. It's going to give them a very, very clean and reliable data source in order to better price the market.
Thank you for your insight there. Now, XRP has shown a weak performance over the recent weeks as it trades below the 30-cent mark. Crypto experts were actually harsh on the third digital asset by market cap on yesterday's Crypto Now show. So what are your thoughts on the project and XRP's current valuation, Jason?
So whoever really captures this market of the remittances market is really going to kill it. But there are a lot of players in this game. There's Stellar. Stellar has been doing really well. There's several other. Bitcoin Cash has been doing really well in terms of sending money back and forth to different countries. So it's not really guaranteed that Ripple is going to come out on top, and that's one of the main concerns that you have to look at. One of the things is that Ripple does not seem to show rather a high correlation with Bitcoin, and so that tends to support the fact that it might be a good hedge against Bitcoin. But they're the most manipulated token, and they're the most centralized, so they're most easily manipulated anyways. And recently they announced that they were introducing an extra 1 billion Ripple into XRP rather into the market, and obviously bought by hedge funds and various other investors. But really, there's not a lot of. It's really too centralized, and it's not a very democratic system. So I think it's where it goes. It really depends on how exactly how well they handle this whole remittances market. But it's certainly not guaranteed.
Okay, and Jeff, do you tend to disagree with Jason here?
I definitely agree. I mean, XRP has never been a big fan of one either. And as your guest on the show yesterday, Walter said, it's extremely centralized out there. Why would you sell your assets out there during the peaks and stuff like that if you weren't actually building on it and using it properly? XRP is kind of like a big sponge. it sponges up valuable Bitcoin and valuable Ethereum for the people that are trading it. And there's it's not adding enough value into that kind of market. There are other players that are building exceptionally good software like Stellar. I mean, one of the founders of Stellar used to be at Ripple, and obviously there was a massive disagreement with what they were doing there, and that's how Stellar was originally born. So yeah, I don't believe XRP is a good investment.
Okay, now just moving on, the IOTA token has pulled back lower today after surging yesterday on the Jaguar Land Rover partnership with IOTA. So is this a big move for the digital asset to gain mainstream adoption, Jason?
So I think it is big news. Essentially, this is a means to reward Jaguar drivers with IOTA coins for actions like enabling their vehicles to report data such as traffic congestion, potholes, navigation to essentially what would be navigation providers and or local authorities. And I think that's obviously the goal being to reduce congestion and to reduce accidents and emissions and things like that. It all comes down to adoption. Since machine-to-machine payments are still a fairly new concept, they're really going to have to get IoT hardware manufacturers to get on board and actually start developing for this. But they've really gotten a huge coup with the whole Jaguar Land Rover deal. Tata, the company that actually owns Land Rover and Jaguar, have been really interested in blockchain for a while. I did a webinar for them last year. It was attended by over 450 of their employees. I'm sure at least some of them were Jaguar Land Rover employees, and now what they're looking at is even more interesting in terms of now that they're actually implementing IOTA. I think they're going to really set a trend, and they certainly have the clout in terms of the brand name with Jaguar and Land Rover to start using that to get other deals like maybe Tesla. Tesla is a company that I'm actually surprised hasn't really talked about coming out with their own coin. Perhaps it really doesn't really make sense for them to get into the cryptocurrency business. It might make sense for them to work with maybe IOTA because basically providing their autonomous driver, their drivers cryptocurrency in exchange for data which they can use to improve their autonomous driving program seems like a no-brainer. So I think it's only a matter of time before a lot of other manufacturers get on board. So I think I'm overall pretty confident that this is a really good move for them.
Some very interesting points there. Thank you. And Jeff, please, your thoughts.
I think we always knew this was going to be how adoption was going to come around. It was going to take a major player or major players experimenting in the space and, integrating, some sort of blockchain like IOTA into their manufacturing process and into, data and into micropayments and people getting rewarded for their data usage, for passing it back. It's kind of like the Waze app. In terms of your navigation, you were part of a network and part of a community that was benefiting for everyone, but you were kind of just a part of the community. You got kind of nothing as a reward. And now they're adding another layer on top of that for data sharing, data analytics, your traffic and consumption, and it's a way to get rewarded and spend. Now, how they're going to implement the spending part, that's kind of what is the second piece of the puzzle. Getting other industries like your parking tickets and paying for parking and renting and all that other kind of stuff, getting all of those industries kind of lined up to play and work effectively and efficiently inside that space. That's going to be the next big thing. But I think it's really, really good news. I think it's great that they're experimenting in the space, and I think it's hopefully they stay with something like IOTA, so all manufacturers can work together. But you might see them start to fork off and use their own chains in the future.
And Tone Vays was actually quite critical of this partnership on Twitter, saying Jaguar and Land Rover cannot give away hard money like Bitcoin. Do you tend to agree with this point of view, Jeff? We'll go straight to you.
I'm not sure I completely agree with his view because, some of the comments are warranted. It was mostly talking about, there was a statement on the PR, which is actually quite funny, that the tokens will help reduce emissions and reduce traffic and all that kind of fluffy stuff, and that's just not true. How can it really, right? The comment about giving away free tokens is kind of like an airdrop. If there's ever an airdrop out there giving away tokens for free, you have to kind of derive what kind of value is going to come from that future token if it's free now. If it's purely to get adoption out there and get people using it and talking about it, then you can write it off as marketing. if more people, like I just said, if more companies and everyone get involved in using this kind of single payment method for transaction and for data and for all that kind of stuff, then I think you might be proven wrong, but time's going to have to tell.
Okay, and Jason, do you tend to agree with Tone Vays's view here, or do you think time will have to tell?
Yeah, so I generally agree with Tony Vays. I follow him. I think he's a really smart guy, but I do disagree with him on this particular area. I think, first of all, Jaguar and Land Rover are actually, one of these points was that they can't give away hard money like Bitcoin. I think that IOTA is essentially hard money. It is on an exchange, and so it comes down to it's only as useful as its ability to transact, which I think is growing, and its adoption, which I think also is growing. The question about whether it can actually help reduce emissions, I think it actually can. I think when you start putting in data that could be used in the future, I mean, we know Jaguar is going to eventually get into autonomous vehicles. It's just a matter of time, and we also know that it's going to get into things like self-driving, like autonomous vehicles, but also compete with the likes of Uber and stuff. This is just going to be a matter of time. So being able to reward owners of these cars and individuals with cryptocurrency is ultimately what's going to drive the adoption. It's ultimately going to drive their ability to get this data. And clearly, if you have data, for example, on what streets are being used, what streets are not being used, you can actually start making, as a city, you can start making more efficient decisions on traffic congestion and where exactly you want to expand the road system, for example. And there's a whole host of data that you can get from a car that is essentially calling home and giving this data back, and then rewarding people in cryptocurrency. So I think it's actually a really good thing, and I think it's going to end up starting to become a standard. I mean, especially if IOTA plays the cards right and is able to get more big car manufacturers on board, I think they can start becoming a standard.
Okay, so definitely quite a different point of view there to Tone Vays. Now, the Transportation Department of Austin, Texas, has also announced its partnership with IOTA to bring the future of mobility to Austin. Is IOTA leading the real-life application race for the blockchain technology, Jeff?
As for leading, I mean, you have to kind of separate it down into sectors. I mean, if you talk about transportation and cars, what we're talking about now, then I believe they are. I mean, with just as Jason was saying right now, with how often a street is used and how it's used and what speed are the cars traveling and, are more heavy vehicles using, etc. A lot of that type of data is extremely valuable to planners and construction and maintenance and repairs. And obviously, what we have in the world at the moment and what blockchain excels at is getting rid of waste. More data makes better informed decisions, allows capital to be deployed in a much more safer and efficient way. And if IOTA with cars and transport and other machinery and how they leverage that platform further in the future is then fed into cities, fed into councils, fed into all other types of transportation networks, it can add up to a lot of tiny, like thousands and thousands and thousands of small gains, which I think is absolutely great.
Okay, excellent. And Jason, your thoughts?
So I lived in Austin, Texas for over a decade, and they happen to be very, very progressive over there, both their politics in general, but also with their approach to technology. We know Michael Dell and Dell Computers was basically founded in Austin. And really, I think IOTA is an excellent idea. It's basically the money that robots and IoT devices are going to use to interact with other robots. And so, for example, in the future, you might have something like an Uber service for drones or drones that deliver you pizza. You can have all sorts of really interesting machine-to-machine transactions, and that's kind of what their goal is. And that's their ultimate vision. The problem is with IOTA is that they're not really using blockchain. They're using some sort of technology they call Tangle. And because of that, it has some good features, as in there's no transaction fees, which basically enables microtransactions. They're also very fast transactions, and it's very easy to scale. But on the other hand, its security has been somewhat of a question, because you only need, unlike blockchain, where you need something like 51% of people to agree on a certain thing before they can influence a blockchain. For Tangle, it's only something like 34%. So in the early days of IOTA, when it's still growing, there's still a great capacity for manipulation. And so they've actually used some things to mitigate that particular exploit. But overall, it's still something that's a gray area, and it's the security of IOTA hasn't really been tested fully.
Okay, Jason, thank you. And finally, on a lighter note, Elon Musk, who previously might have fueled a rally in Dogecoin, tweeted Ethereum. It was followed by a just kidding tweet, but it is the only top 7 asset that trades in the green today. So is this coincidence or a sign that the digital asset class still has plenty of room to mature? Jason, we'll go back to you.
So I hate to say this, but I don't think it's coincidence. I think it really has to do. I think Elon Musk is really listened to in the cryptocurrency industry, and just minimal things that he can say can really move stock. I mean, there's people, the amount of followers that he has and the kind of followers he has is just insane. So I think it did make a difference, but I think that says more about Elon, less about the whole cryptocurrency, the cryptocurrency investors and the ability to interpret data, and more about Elon Musk and his out-of-size personality and his ability to move markets.
Very, very interesting. And do you share the same view, Jeff? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, really similar. I do feel it's still a very immature market when, someone with a Twitter account can move the market, but he has a huge amount of followers. He's known for his sense of humor. He's known for, creating stuff out of pure boredom. I mean, look, we have the Boring Company. He made a flamethrower a year or two ago, as well as all the accessories for it. So he definitely has that kind of pizzazz for the dramatic. And sometimes with a market with such a low cap, then he can sometimes move the markets. But at least it's always in good humor. And I did see you get a reply back from Vitalik as well, saying you should come to DevCon, which he responded to is stop giving away ETH. So definitely a good sense of humor, but yeah, a little bit of an immature market.
Jeff, Jason, thank you so much. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure having both of you on the line with us today. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia.
Thanks.
Now, before we sign off, I have a last-minute update from my editorial staff regarding the crypto market. The crypto markets have turned mostly green. The total market capitalization is now back above the $170 billion mark. Trading activity has increased as well, and the Coin Market Cap website's 24-hour trading volume has moved north of the $46 billion level. Well, that's all for this Tuesday's Crypto Now live show. We thank Jason Fernandez and Jeff Hancock for their expert analysis. We thank the audience for joining us, and we invite you all to accompany us every weekday at the same time.